we've got another good snow here in Michigan, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to test out the Cooper Discover AT3 4S tires in their second season in the snow on the Lexus GX. They actually perform really well in the snow. They're very predictable. They do drive quite nicely in all weather conditions. And of course, the GX being a big, heavy body-on-frame SUV definitely helps the matters. But yeah, we've got traction control off. We have a 70-30 torque split in non-center diff lock mode. So we'll play around with that, then we'll lock the center diff and see how the drivetrain reacts to those changes and how it is a little bit more predictable to slide around. Oh, and that's kind of what today's video is about, is just sliding around. These Coopers definitely don't have the grip of a dedicated winter tire, but I think they're pretty darn good as they sit. They don't break away too quickly and too unpredictably. You have a pretty good idea of what they're going to do and how much grip they're going to give you. On surface roads that are unplowed, the performance is actually fantastic. If you can see the pavement, they do really, really quite well. When you're just sliding this GX around normally, it almost acts like a rear-wheel drive car. It's very rear biased, which is nice. You can get the tail out quite nicely. Oh yes. You can really slide around in this thing. It's great. It's getting a little bit warmer and things are starting to melt, but a little bit of driving in here still. Oh my gosh, it's so beautifully balanced. So I think you guys get a pretty good idea of what it's like without the center diff locked. Let's go ahead and lock that, and now we have a 50-50 torque split between front and rear. So we should have a little bit more difficulty initiating a slide, but we've got just a little bit more four-wheel drive nature out of this GX. See, it's not fishtailing nearly as much. It's a little bit more stable in a straight line. Let's test our braking performance here. And it should do some wicked donuts like this too. Except we're digging down into the pavement. The ABS and traction control systems in this car are so noisy and they feel so old school. Yeah, definitely a lot easier to control with a center diff lock. Of course, you don't want to turn that on any sort of grippy pavement. Don't want to bind up the drivetrain. I will say overall I am quite impressed with these all-terrains. They excel in just about every scenario that you put them in compared to a lot of the competition. I think they're probably some of the better snow-oriented all-terrain tires. They're not as good as an all-season or a winter, that's for sure. I had a set of Cooper all-seasons on here before. I think they were the HTPs, and they performed awesome. They were really, really good in the snow and the ice. And these Cooper Discover AT3 4Ss are nowhere near as nice to drive. But I will say, in off-road environments and other all-terrain situations, they do very nicely. Oh, yes. You gotta love this GX. It is fun to drive. One thing I loved about driving this in the winter is that it's just so heavy that it absolutely just powers through ruts and any situation where other cars are going to be tramlining or just struggling to get through. The sheer weight of this thing just pushes it through the deep snow, and it's definitely not as good in icy situations because there's so much weight to bring down from speed to a stop, but in deep snow it is an absolute champ. And if you do get a lot of ice, I mean, honestly, the ideal situation would be to run a set of winter tires on this, and I think the GX would probably be pretty unstoppable at that point. But for a 4-season tire that does the job and gets you where you need to go, I think these AT3 4S tires are quite good. No problems with traction here. There's just a little bit of slush on the pavement, and it handles it with ease. Once you get comfortable with this GX, kind of tossing it around, it's very nice to drive in the snow. There's this initial slip from that rear axle that kicks in, and then once you kind of get into a drift, it's super controllable. And of course, it helps a lot to have a set of tires that are more predictable and have more grip in the snow, as opposed to tires that are just going to slide out on you. Rear biased 4-wheel drive for the win. It's just ABS system sounds terrible. So in the center lane, we've got a little bit of slush. It just barrels through it. Here's traction control on. It's pretty invasive, keeps you in a straight line. Doesn't allow a lot of slip. In this GX460, I've actually installed mud and sand mode, which will give you slightly more dulled throttle response and just a little bit more slip from the traction control system. But that said, the standard traction control does a really nice job in this GX, keeping you in a straight line and from getting into too much trouble. See here that if you turn and accelerate, it'll kind of break those inside wheels to slow you down, and of course it'll beep at you when it tells you you're having too much slip and too much fun. Going through the slush, no problems, easy. All right, guys, well, I think we'll wrap things up there. Thanks for watching. Hope if if you have a GX 460, enjoy it and be safe this winter. Get a good set of tires that work well in the snow, and you shouldn't have any problems stopping and turning. I would recommend the Cooper Discover AT3 4S. It's a nice all-around tire. You definitely have to be careful driving it in the winter. You can't just send it everywhere like you would with a dedicated snow tire. But I think it'll get you through just about everything you need to, and it has enough winter capability for an all-terrain to get the job done, and everywhere else it does a really nice job too. So those are my thoughts on the Cooper Discover AT3 4S on my GX. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Until the next video, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys then. Take care.